Russia is a seasoned professional when it comes to geopolitical maneuvering. Russia, under Vladimir Putin, has emerged as a worldwide giant, with a GDP that is somewhat larger than that of Australia. And the Russian invasion of Crimea in the 21st century was unquestionably the most important move of the nation in the 20th century. In contrast to our previous videos, which focused on the geopolitical situation between Russia and Ukraine, this YouNik video will delve into further depth on the actual cost of Russia's 2014 annexation of Crimea. This is a lot more complex than you were expecting to find yourself in. This year has served as a wake-up call for the EU as well as the rest of the world. When it came to launching a military campaign against Ukraine, Ukrainian couldn't have imagined it happening. The takeover of Crimea by Russia in 2014 triggered a conflict in eastern Ukraine that has continued to the current day. The true degree of Russian engagement is difficult to determine, despite the widespread belief that the West has reacted with economic sanctions against the country. In order to determine how much Russia paid, you needed to understand both how Russia functioned at the time of the payment and how it functions now. The price of oil and the state of Russia's economy are deeply linked. When oil prices fall, it has a significant negative impact on Russia. Oil and gas make for more than a third of Russia's overall economic productivity and more than 60% of its export earnings. Russia's economy was hit hard by the drop in oil prices in 2014, which occurred almost immediately after the annexation of Crimea. Between June and December of that year, the ruble's value in relation to the dollar fell by 59%. When compared to all other countries, Russia, and its neighbor, Ukraine, have the lowest purchasing power parity in the world as of the first days of January 2015. When the purchasing power parity of a currency declines, the cost of goods and services bought in that currency rises as a result of the decline in purchasing power parity. Because Russians use far less oil and natural gas than Americans, decreased pump prices have little impact on the Russian economy. Russia exports less than 30% of its total oil output, which is a low figure. Russian imports are being affected by oil prices in the same way that they were affected by oil prices in 2014. As a consequence of growing import costs, the Russian government increased interest rates to as high as 17%, resulting in a significant increase in consumer prices across the board. The United States discovered in the early 1980s that an unexpected and considerable rise in interest rates might result in an extended period of economic stagnation and recession. When Russia commenced its military action in Ukraine in February 2014, the price of crude oil was hovering around $100 per barrel. However, as of January 2015, the price of oil has dropped abruptly from $100 per barrel to $50 per barrel in only 10 months, marking a significant fall from the previous year. Despite the intricacy of the oil markets throughout the world, it is quite simple that the United States was to blame in this particular case. After hydraulic fracking was initially utilized in North Dakota and Texas in 2010, oil production in the United States saw a dramatic increase. In the event that crude oil production suddenly increases, major oil producers such as Saudi Arabia and Iraq typically band together to decrease supply. This contributes to the stability of pricing. This was not the case, however, in the year 2014. The Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, which includes Saudi Arabia, remained on the sidelines and observed the unfolding scenario. According to the Russian Energy Ministry, the price of oil has remained largely stable since the disintegration of the Soviet Union. After more than a decade without a Soviet Union, the Russian economy has just recently begun to restore its pre-expansionist speed, according to official statistics. During this time period, it is believed that Russia's gross domestic product, GDP, has declined by 4%. As a result of Western sanctions on Russian officials and businesses, the country's economy has suffered significantly. Despite a slight slowdown in 2014, the quantity of foreign investment did not recover to pre-crisis levels for an extended length of time. It is expected that the sanctions imposed by Western nations have resulted in Russia losing around 10% of its economic productivity in the process of acquiring Crimea. For its part, the Crimean Peninsula is not really a prosperous and well-established regional economic center. Despite the fact that it is a strategic location, the people who live there are not very well off. Prior to Russia's annexation of Crimea in March 2014, the area was the poorest in the nation in terms of per capita GDP. In order to get the new region up to the same level as other parts of Russia, it would take a decade and $2 billion every year. Following the completion of the bridge's construction in 2014, Crimea has gained an airport, 2 power plants, and a greater military presence from Russia's mainland as a consequence of the $4 billion project. Russia as a whole has been weakened by Putin's expansionist ambitions, but the Crimean Peninsula has done very well. If you want to learn more about why Putin is so obsessed with Ukraine, keep an eye out for our YouNik video on the subject, which will be released soon. You are welcome to share your opinions on this video with us if you are not already a subscriber, otherwise, we encourage you to become one.